asszonynak. Ugyanakkor
At the same time, the situation is that Ursula von der Leyen has harmed the European Union so much as few others have in the comparison of the past 1 or 2 decades. During Ursula von der Leyen's presidency of the Commission, the European continent lost its peace, the European continent lost its weight in world politics. The European Union lost its economic competitiveness, and in the European Union, an extreme liberal madness is raging with gender propaganda and everything else with its well-known characteristics. Ursula von der Leyen plays, and has played, an incredibly large role in the destruction of the European Union. Today, politicians outside of Europe simply do not understand how it is possible that tensions, armed conflicts within a continent, conflicts in Europe cannot be managed. Ursula von der Leyen has achieved that the European Union now has a smaller share of global economic output than the United States and China, and has achieved that the European Union has practically isolated itself from the most important players in world politics and the global economy, as it has made a tariff agreement with the United States, in which Donald Trump clearly receives the highest recognition, as it is the best agreement from an American perspective. But everyone looks at Ms. von der Leyen with downcast eyes and a sense of second-hand embarrassment, wondering how it could be that from the perspective of the European continent, such a harmful and bad agreement could be made. With the sanctions against Russia, they have practically destroyed the foundation of the European economic model that defined European economic growth for decades, namely the combination of Eastern energy resources and Western technologies resolves European economic growth. As for Africa or the future continent, we have isolated ourselves by making gender and other ideological craziness prerequisites for every economic trade agreement we have defined, which are obviously unacceptable for African countries. So it is indeed time for von der Leyen to go, which would give serious hope that the European Union might get on some sort of improvement path. Well, I think the President of Ukraine has completely lost his sense of reality, has completely lost touch with reality, his connection to reality, and perhaps this explains why he says things that would normally cause the ceiling to collapse. So he says that they will become a member of the European Union, period. Well, Mr. President, this is the least of what you will decide. So, it is not the one who wants to join that decides who will be a member of the European Union, but those who are already in it. And it has to be decided unanimously. So, until everyone agrees that someone should become a member of the European Union, there will not be a member of the European Union. No, this is not rocket science, so everyone can know this exactly. And we understand that the Ukrainian people have decided they want to become members, but unfortunately, the Ukrainian people cannot decide this. It will be the Hungarian people who will decide. The point is that there was a person, or a group of people, who took that, they blew up a gas pipeline. They blew up an energy supply infrastructure of strategic importance for a significant part of European countries. This is called terrorism, they call it. If this explosion is carried out on a state commission, then it is called state terrorism. That is the big situation. So here a terrorist act has occurred. So from now on, practically the European buildings, energy transport routes, bombings against transport routes, because the reason or the way they were built is not liked, are acceptable. This is what Donald Tusk, a prime minister of a European Union country, is saying, that it is okay, that something is blown up just because it is not liked that it was built. The situation is getting worse, and this war psychosis, in my opinion, is becoming increasingly dangerous. Because the more the European public opinion is being stirred up in the direction of war, the greater the danger that if there is a misunderstanding or something that can be misinterpreted or an accident occurs, the reaction will not be based on common sense, and not on long-term insight, nor on the interests of long-term peace and security. This is why it is dangerous, very dangerous, what the European politicians are pursuing. In the long run, it jeopardizes European peace and security. I don't know how many times the press writes weekly that Hungary is still profiteering from its Russian connection, because we maintain the relationship with the Russians and buy from there because it's cheaper. Well, the situation is that we buy oil from Russia because, first, if we don't buy from there, then the infrastructure cannot supply the country. Second, I have not seen a strategic decision-maker who would calmly take on the decision to choose more expensive and less reliable sources over the existing ones. For example, I looked at the statistics, not for oil, but for natural gas, that in Europe, the household bills for natural gas are by far the lowest in Hungary. The European Hungarian families pay 71% less for natural gas compared to the European average. And it's the same with oil. Today in Hungary, dramatic fuel, gasoline, would occur if they forced us to the left, to purchase oil exclusively through a single route, Croatia, instead of the two routes used previously. It would lead to a dramatic increase in gasoline prices.